Everyone, and welcome to ANN Late Nightish. I'm Kenia Reyes.
And I am Mweyna Mpundu. And as like we start every night, here are the top 5 news points of the day. Division presidents were elected today. Many of them remain the same, but we will give you the new ones elected. For NSD, we have Johan Kim. For SID, we have Harrington Akombwe. For SSD, we have Roger Kandaram. For TED, we have Daniel Duda. For WAD, we have Robert Osia Bonsu.
Also today, we had some of the associate directors who were elected, and many of them were also re-elected. But for education, we have Richard Sabuin. For Sabbath School and Personal Ministries, we have Justin Kim. And for Women's Ministries, we have Nilda Itin.
Because of concerns over lack of diversity in the nominations being presented by the committee for the different positions, general stats were given on the General Conference employees. 60 countries are represented in the GC. Every division is represented. Ethnicity breakdown by job category of executive, professional, and managerial. Asian, 9%. Black or African American, 16%. Latino or Hispanic, 17%. 2 or more races, 3%, white, 55%. Gender by job category of executive, professional, and managerial. Women, 38%, men, 62%. Average age within job category of executive, professional, and managerial is 54. Elected only is 60.
Also today, we had some discussion over the new Adventist Youth Manual edits, and I know that we were very interested to see the conversation that would happen because of these edits. Now, the edits are meant to help in equipping youth and young adults to take leadership positions in the local churches, to clarify the original language regarding youth ministries in the manual, and change the ages for the different youth ministries. The edits received support from division youth directors such as Pastor Ron Henebago, Pastor Magulilo Mwakalonge, and the former GC youth director, Pastor Gary Blanchard, and Pastor Paco Mogwane, who gave some explanation as to the reason for the edits. Due to some confusion regarding the removal of the 30+ as the young adult age, the amendment was returned to the committee for review and clarification.
Finally, for our 5th point, we have to announce to you that the youth ministry team is finally complete. After the election of Pastor Busi Kumalo as the new youth director, today, finally, we received the nominees for associate directors.
Yes.
How do you feel, Kenia?
We feel very, very happy. We're just happy because we have a whole team again,
yes,
right?
After
we had Pastor Gary Blanchard, his announcing that he would be leaving. Well, we were left with a hole there that needed to be filled, and it was filled. And today, well, it was completed.
Yes. Nominated, voted, and elected were the incumbents, Pastor Paco Mogwane and Pastor Andres Peralta.
And those are the 5 points of the day. A lot of discussion over the edits. We had a lot of nominees come in, and we do believe that it's done for the nominee committee. Isn't that correct?
Yes, we believe the nominee committee has finished their job for this session and have nominated all the positions.
I bet they're happy.
Yes.
Because I know those meetings were long, and long meetings are not easy. And well, honestly, now what we can do, all of us, is to pray for all of the leaders, the new leaders, those who have been reelected, to continue being guided by the Holy Spirit, to continue moving their church forward, and that we may finish the work of the gospel here in earth. So we're very happy for everything that happened today. And now, aside from all of those exciting things that were happening in the Dome here at the Convention Center, you and I had a really good time.
Yes, we did something super special today, an exciting time.
Yes.
Our legs hurt.
They will hurt tomorrow.
Oof. It was a busy day. What did we do today, Kenia?
Well, we went for a little spin around St. Louis. And so we want you guys to take a look at our little St. Louis tour. So enjoy.
After 3 days of living in St. Louis, today we headed out on a mission. We're going to tour this beautiful city that the GC session is being held in. We rented some scooters, but what we didn't know was the city had now stopped scooters from being used in their city limits. Ain't that crazy?
As we made our way through the different paths, through the different streets on our scooters, after making it also through the heat, we were finally able to see the beautiful Gateway Arch. The Gateway Arch stands at 630 feet tall. It is our nation's tallest man-made monument and anchors Gateway Arch National Park, formerly known as Jefferson National Expansion Memorial. But after some scooting and after some walking, it was time for a little break. And why not do it on this beautiful patch of green grass?
A break or a hop? But that hop definitely got us tired again. So here we are, taking a little breather, looking at the sights of St. Louis.
After scooting around some more, we finally came to this courthouse, the old courthouse of Gateway Arch National Park, and it has very, very big significance for the city of St. Louis, Missouri.
It not only serves as a monument of St. Louis, but also has a big part in the civil rights movement of America.
The statue in front of the courthouse is of Dred and Harriet Scott, who filed suit for their freedom at the courthouse in 1846. After continuing to see the arch even from far, which you can see from every single corner of the city, we were making our way back to the convention center, and we passed by the Federal Reserve Bank Plaza.
As you walk through St. Louis this week, you will see a lot of welcome posters to the church as the city celebrates us here.
As many other of our delegates, I am seen here scooting into the convention center because you know what? We're getting a little tired and it's pretty hot outside.
We make our way back in for a little bit of cold air and a stroll through the convention center.
We walked through the entire convention center to make our way into the dome. But we have learned a little bit more about America's Center, where the general session is currently being held. American Center is a convention center located in downtown St. Louis, Missouri, and is situated next to the dome at American Center, the former home of the National Football League's St. Louis Rams. The venue opened in 1977 as the Cervantes Convention Center.
At the Dome, you are able to see many communications teams who are set up to make sure their divisions know what's happening here at the General Conference sessions. As you walk into the Dome, you see delegates sitting, paying attention to what's being discussed on stage by Hensley Marovin, the Undersecretary of the General Conference.
Delegates are sat by divisions, and each of them works together prayerfully to make the decisions that will help us continue growing as a movement, as a church, all around the world.
I hope you enjoyed our short tour of this beautiful city of St. Louis, Missouri.
It was super fun.
Bye now.
Well, wasn't that fun, Mweyna?
Yes, what a fun time.
And to think that now those scooters are illegal in St. Louis, Missouri, and it's our fault. No, I'm just kidding. It's not our fault.
It's not our fault.
It's definitely not our fault. But we did have such a great time being able to scoot around the city a little bit and get to explore what's here in St. Louis, although it was very, very hot. But it definitely gave us some time off to be able to explore somewhere new.
And more steps. I think I'm almost at 20,000 today.
I
so
have
that was
20,000 as
Yes.
well.
Well,
All right.
joining us now is Pastor Ron Genebago, who is the youth director from the Southern Asian Pacific Division. How are you, Pastor Ron?
I'm great.
That's
Thank you.
good.
Pastor
Thank you
Ron,
for
it's so
joining us.
finally good to meet you in
Yes.
person.
Yes, yes, I'm happy to see you all.
Yes, we're happy too.
And also joining him is Pastor Nick Cross, who is the youth liaison for the South Pacific Division. How are you, Pastor Nick?
I'm awesome. Thank you very much, Mweyna. It's great to be here at the GT
Yes.
session. Very
Yes.
exciting.
Yes.
So you all might not know, but this is fun times for Kenya and myself because we're meeting Kenya met most of them before
Yes.
the pandemic. But for me, I'm meeting most of the youth directors now at session.
Yes.
So that has been fun meeting you both.
Yeah, this is my
Yes.
first time to see Nick.
It's my first time to meet both of you. It's so exciting
Yes.
because I'm really over Zoom, to be honest.
Mhm.
Yes.
I've seen so many Zoom meetings, but now real people in real rooms, it's just so much nicer.
Yes, definitely. And I have my own little anecdote of the first time that I met Pastor Nick. And I remember that we still hadn't met formally, but it was at Oshkosh.
Hey,
And I remember that I was in my little golf cart, just driving around and feeling very privileged for having the golf cart, I must say.
I was walking.
And I remember that I passed Pastor Nick and I knew what he looked like already. And I remember that he was staying on the campsite.
yes.
He was staying at Oshkosh in a tent. And I remember that I love that because I'm a big Pathfinder girl. I'm a master guide. And so for me, that was very, very special. And I hold that little memory pretty close to my heart, Pastor
Well,
Nick.
thank you, Kenya. But the big question is, did we trade any pins?
I don't think we
Oh,
did.
man.
I think we're going to have to bring out the pin collection because I'm sure you got me beat.
I missed out. I missed out on that. That would have been fun.
Definitely. Well, here at Session, there's so many business meetings happening, right? There's so many discussions that are happening. So we do want to ask you a little bit about that. For us as young people, maybe it's confusing. We're hearing a lot of new terminology on our end, and there's just so many things that they're discussing that maybe we've never heard about before. But one of the main questions that we have is that we spend so many hours discussing manual edits, church manual edits. So we want to know, how do these church manual edits affect the local church? So we're going to start with you, Pastor Ron.
Yeah, church manual has been a blessing in our church. But like us, we grow. You know, we need also to grow in our in our knowledge. So we need to edit some points that we see need improvement. So, like for example, the proposal that we have there. The goal of the Adventist Youth Ministries is to bring the youth into activities, and I think that is not the goal of the Adventist Youth, but to bring the Adventist youth in a saving relationship with Jesus.
Amen.
So that's that kind of edit will really help and make an impact to the life of the local church. For example, if our goal is to bring the young people into activities, so that's all.
Yeah.
So that's and the end product are young people doing many activities. But if we bring them to Jesus, so that is foundational to everything.
It's not about events, it's about Jesus.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
Okay, okay, quotes. We're gonna have
Tweet me,
people
tweet me,
quote-
tweet me.
tweet Mweyna. We have quotes now. That's really good. I love that because I love that you're talking about the church growing, and we have to grow and expand. And there's new knowledge that we acquire.
Yes.
I know that you've recently finished your doctorate. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So, you as a person continue to grow in your knowledge, and as a church, we do so as well. So, Pastor Nick, what would you say to this question? Why is it important to the local church member, to the local young person?
Yeah. So, I mean, the church manual is meant to be a guide. And as Pastor Ron mentioned, our church is growing. And so the manual is a dynamic document. So as needs arise, better language can describe our situation. So, for example, there was a speech today about people who have, say, disabilities. So how do we cater for those people with disabilities? So they're looking now at recommending different changes for the church manual to facilitate blind and deaf people and other people who have wheelchairs and stuff. So, we recognize that when we say things, that's not going to be locked in forever. So the church manual is designed to give a local church a structure so that, say, for example, a new Pathfinder leader is elected into that job. They don't really know what they're supposed to do. So we go to the church manual to find out what role they play. How do they fit within the bigger sort of context of a local church? The manual.
Yes. That's
So
true.
it's handy, very handy.
Definitely, it is a handy book, especially for when you're coming into a new department. I think that you and I, we understand.
Yes.
Coming in new and not understanding how things happen and how things go and how we're supposed to be organized, it definitely does come in handy.
I remember being on the nominating committee in my local church, and there was always someone in there with the manual. Before you propose the new position, they'll read out the position, what is supposed to happen in the manual. And I think that happens maybe in other churches as well. But what happens when maybe they're looking through the manual and they see that this might not fit how they think the church should be moving and want to propose an edit? How do they move it from their local church to then be considered here at the GC for future?
Yeah, if like a young person notice something that is really interesting, he can bring that out to probably the pastor, yeah, and the church, and then bring that matter to the level of conference. If it's a youth department, probably through the youth director, and then bring it to union, and then division, and the division can give it to the GC. Like they invited this, I think this morning, yeah. No, this afternoon. Sorry, they actually the invitation is given for us to if you know that there is something that needs to be changed, you need to go to the process.
Yes.
So from local, they have. This is interesting. They have a voice.
That's true. So it's not impossible.
No,
Yeah.
it's not impossible.
Good to
And it doesn't
know.
have to always come from the general conference presenting it. We also from the local churches can bring it up.
I think that they actually respond.
Mm.
The local. I mean, the general conference has committees that meet regularly,
Yes.
and they respond to needs from the field. So you can imagine if you've got 110 different countries, 7 different continents, and they're all, hosting clubs, they're managing ministries, they're dealing with issues to do with sexual safety, privacy. Now we've got social media platforms, which never existed 20 years ago. So you can see that the context of the world is changing. And as the context of the world changes, so does the context of ministry.
Yeah.
Our message stays the same, but our methods need to stay in sync with what's happening. And so when recommendations come through to say the division or the GC, then you've got people around the table who look at these comments and requests, and then if they're deemed to be important, then they are taken to a vote, and then they are presented to a meeting like the one we have now. So you can't just change the church manual with 10 people.
Yeah.
You have to take it to the world church.
Yeah.
So that's why we have these big meetings where 2,700 people come together.
So they do definitely matter, which is something that I know we've been discussing a lot. Even yesterday, when we had the 2 delegates who were with us, the 2 young delegates, young adult delegates, we discussed the importance of being involved as young people at our local churches in all the levels of the church, and to have a voice, right? And to be a part of their church as it moves along. So we also know, though, that out of that, there's a lot of young people who are not interested in these meetings. They're very long meetings. We really cannot blame them. Sometimes it gets very difficult, especially for this generation that we know are just our attention span is just shorter. Some of the issues I bump into with a lot of friends is that I always love to read, but now it gets harder and harder to sit down and just read a book, because for some reason it's like our attention is just not there anymore. So when we have these long meetings, extensive meetings about things sometimes such as simple as this line is being changed, or this is being struck out, or this comma is moving, right? Sometimes it might be a little bit difficult to be interested in what's happening. And also there might be a little bit of a disillusion, where sometimes we feel like, things are not moving forward as quickly as we might want them to move, or they're not moving into the direction that we want them to move. So what would you tell these young people? How can we get them interested? Why is it important for them to be interested in these church policies, manuals, bylaws, all of these things that constitute the church? Why should they be interested, and how can we get them to be interested?
You can start.
Yes, Pastor Nick.
It's a really tough question.
That's
That's a Ross said.
smart.
I guess a part of it is, Kenya, that we must catch a vision of the global church. And when you come to a meeting like this, suddenly you see thousands of people and you go, wow, like the church is a big machine. And so with any big machine, there are things that have to change. So how do we make it relevant? I think part of it is explaining to young people the objective of these meetings. Why are we having them? What's the importance of policy changes? What's the importance of a manual change? And I think if you can break it down into simple components that our church needs to be relevant.
Mm.
Our church needs to be functional.
Mhm.
It needs to be able to move with the times a bit in terms of methodology.
Mm.
And we do that at a meeting like this.
Mhm.
Now, maybe what we should have done was grabbed all of those scooters off the road and brought it in here. And in between, like every half an hour, we go
Scooter
for a
out.
race around the big auditorium.
Someone write that down. That's
Yeah.
a great idea.
And then at the end of it, donuts and like drinks and stuff.
Donuts.
And then back to the policy thing
yeah.
again. I mean, we should have, for young people, there has to be a little sizzle. There's got to be something fun happening as well. So even getting up, doing exercises every 30 minutes. I know that the chair people, men and women, have been cracking jokes, which is so much fun.
It is.
And some of them are pretty dry, but you know what? It's a joke and it makes a difference. So little things like that could make it pop a bit better.
Mhm.
But I think we just need to recognize that they've been elected to come and represent their field
Mhm.
to the church, to the world church.
Mhm.
And that's really important.
And their voice matters. But I did see that SPD did give out donuts. I'm following some of the young people on social media.
Amen.
I did
Division
see that
gave
they
out
gave out donuts to their young people
That was from
yesterday
a
during their.
husband of a delegate.
Yeah.
Got a box of
Where
donuts.
are
That
the
was going to
donuts?
be my next question.
That's my
Where
question.
were ours?
Well, where were you sitting? Just give us the directions. We'll get them to you, girls.
Thank you so much. Pastor Ron, you are not free. You also, we would love to hear from you because
thought it's done.
we just got some excellent suggestions
Yeah.
from Pastor Nick. And they might, they're funny, they're lighthearted, but there's something there about maybe changing something, some aspect that can also help this generation that has a harder time maybe understanding why these things have to be so lengthy, but even also breaking down the language. I feel like there's some words that can be very complicated. So if we have these conversations at our local churches explaining things, well, that could be very helpful. What do you think, Pastor?
Yeah. So for me, let me bring the theme. Jesus is coming, get involved.
Mhm.
Because without involvement, there is no commitment. And if you're not committed, how can you read the church manual, which is really something to read. So if our young people will be involved in the ministry, they will be interested to see how the church is run, and they'll see how the church will be will grow, and the young people will start to love something that they are involved. So if we can bring them to church involvement, they'll see that there is something that they need to to allow the church or to help the church to grow, like the church manual. So yeah, and also I think on the practical side, we need to allow them, and probably we can show and illustrate examples on how this is happening and how a church edit can improve something. A church manual edit can improve the work in the church.
Yes, youth involvement. That is
Yes.
very important.
I think also one of the comments I was having a chat with Lorraine today. She was here last night. And Lorraine was saying to me, like, Nick, I didn't understand the context before I got here. So she was saying it would be great if we had, even for young people who come, like the youth delegates who come, if they could be given like a little introduction booklet saying, this is the kind of stuff that happens at a GC session and why does it happen? And this is, if you want to make a speech, this is how you do it. So that young people who are coming here have got a little bit of a pre-warning as to the kind of things that are going to happen.
Yeah.
And, so that when they get here, it's not so new and not so, it's like another language, like you said,
Yes.
complex words,
Yes.
policies, line this, reference that, 204.22 and all that.
Yes.
It's like, where do you find all that, so I get that.
Yeah.
So I think maybe she has some wisdom there that if we could present something to the youth delegates, maybe even 2 weeks before the session, those who we know are delegates, if they got a little intro email or something with an attached document that just gave them a bit of an overview of how things work here.
Yes.
And I mean, you could always do stuff afterwards, like, for example, have a meeting for all the youth delegates that are at the GC. Let's meet one night and have a get to know each other. Speed dating, night cafe. I'm available for bookings, by the way. Weddings, I do weddings all the time.
Yes.
Yeah,
no,
I definitely
good
think the
ideas.
parliamentarian terms always,
Yes.
I saw a couple of those comments on YouTube today where people are trying to understand how those work. So I think that definitely would help in better equipping the young people and other delegates who might not be young.
I
with
Can
the
I
language.
add something?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like for example, we have SYL manual, Senior Youth Leaders curriculum. And also we have Master Guide and Adventure. I think we can allow them to exercise, like read this document and then
Yes.
see something that you see that needs improvement, and then exercise in that level of the materials that we have, and then it can grow from there. And then later on they can they'll get old and become elders of the church,
Yes.
and they have
They're
the training
equipped.
already.
Yeah.
I think this just became a little bit like, what is like a think tank?
Yeah.
I think there's so many things that you're saying that I'm not gonna lie, I'm already thinking about things that we could be doing also
Yeah.
at the General Conference and the Youth Ministries team. See what we can do to help our young people. We know that there are young people who are interested, who will definitely at one point might get the call to come and be a delegate,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
want to make that easier for them
Yeah.
because this can be intimidating.
Yes.
Standing up, and this is a smaller one compared to
To-
other ones,
Yeah.
so it would be intimidating, it might be daunting, but to give them those tools, the
Yeah.
materials that they need, I think we have some stuff that
Yeah.
we can do thanks to you guys.
Yes.
And for everyone watching, if you also have any ideas, I think that this is an excellent opportunity for us to put it down in the comments. If you're watching this, write down any ideas that you think would also make it easier for young people as yourself to get involved, to understand the entire process of being a delegate and coming here and being able to be a part of the decision making of the church. So if you have any ideas, drop them in. This is a think tank. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Yes, well, we are so happy that we were able to have this conversation with you. I think that it's been a productive conversation, and we always enjoy being able to see our youth directors, our youth leaders from the
Thank you.
different divisions. It's always a pleasure to see everything that's happening in your divisions as well. So keep up the good work,
Yeah.
because we love to see it.
Can
And-
I say thank you to you as well?
Yeah.
Of course.
Both of you girls do a lot of work behind the
Thank you.
scenes.
Thank
As
you.
youth directors, we have DAs. We know how much you do. We know how you make us look good. We would fall to pieces if it wasn't for girls like you. So thank you both.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
You
much.
did an excellent job. Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so
We
much.
appreciate it.
Well, that was the show for tonight, but we have one more show tomorrow that we're really excited to have, because tomorrow we will be joined by the GC Youth Ministries team. That would be Pastor Busi Kumalo, Pastor Paco Makwane, and Pastor Andres Peralta.
We're
How
excited.
exciting.
Yeah,
We're so excited.
So don't you miss it. Our very last and then late nightish. We've enjoyed it so much, and
So
we know that
sad.
the conversation will be so great. So we will see you tomorrow, guys. Everyone, bye-bye.
Bye.